There are patterns of behavior burned into our lives, not by chance, but by a chilling, invisible hand. In our closest relationships, in the silent power plays at work, even in the stories we tell ourselves, a hidden architecture of influence is at play. It doesn't announce its arrival, it moves in the quiet spaces of the mind, leveraging deep-seated psychological principles to shape our emotions, our decisions, and our very sense of reality. True manipulation doesn't feel like a battle of wills. It feels like an idea that was ours all along. In the next few minutes, we will unmask 7 of these psychological arts. These are not just theories, they are documented patterns of human behavior engineered to persuade and control. By the end, you won't just see them in others. You'll be forced to confront the blueprint of your own mind. Because awareness isn't about paranoia. It's about recognizing the psychological cage before the door locks behind you. And once you see the bars, you can never unsee them. Section 1. Intermittent reinforcement. The most addictive poison isn't the reward itself. It's the hope for it. A partner is distant and unresponsive for days, leaving you anxious. Then, without warning, they flood you with a single day of intoxicating presence and affection. A boss overlooks your hard work for months, then one afternoon offers a single perfect compliment that feels like salvation. This is intermittent reinforcement. The neurological basis for this was famously demonstrated in landmark studies on primates by neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz. Initially, when a monkey received an unexpected drop of juice, its dopamine neurons fired. But as the monkeys learned to associate a signal like a light with the coming reward, the neurons stopped firing at the juice itself. Instead, they fired at the signal, the anticipation of the reward. The real breakthrough came when the reward was made unpredictable. Sometimes the light appeared but no juice followed. This randomness caused the monkey's dopamine systems to activate frantically, trying to predict a pattern that wasn't there. This unpredictability hijacks your dopamine pathways. They don't just respond to the pleasure of the reward, they become supercharged by the anticipation and the uncertainty. The neurological spike is even higher when the reward is a surprise, creating a frantic, primal craving. You become the subject in the experiment, mistaking the agonizing suspense for passion. The manipulator isn't giving you affection, they are exploiting your brain's reward prediction error. The gap between what you expect and what you get to make you grateful for a moment's peace in a war they created. But what if the reward is just a distraction designed to obscure a far more insidious tactic? Section 2. Future faking. They build you a palace in the sky to keep you chained in a dungeon on the ground. A romantic partner on the verge of being left suddenly paints a vivid picture of the exact future you've always dreamed of. Marriage, a house, a life of stability. A business associate describes the empire you'll build together, so long as you keep sacrificing your time and your resources today for their unproven tomorrow. This is future faking. These promises aren't plans, they are currency spent to buy your present-day compliance. This tactic exploits a cognitive bias known as commitment and consistency, a principle detailed by psychologist Robert Cialdini. Once we invest in an idea or a promised outcome, we become psychologically driven to see it through, to avoid the mental discomfort of admitting our investment was a mistake. This is closely related to the sunk cost fallacy. The more you sacrifice for their promised future, the harder it becomes to walk away. Research into cult dynamics shows this is a primary tool for recruitment and retention. Leaders. Leaders from Charles Manson to Jim Jones were masters of selling a transcendent future, demanding absolute sacrifice in the present. It works because the imagined future provides a stronger dopamine hit than the bleak reality of today. They aren't building a future with you. They are consuming your life as fuel. But what happens when the manipulator isn't just selling you a beautiful lie, but is actively projecting their own inner darkness onto you? Section 3. Projection. When someone constantly accuses you of a character flaw, they are often confessing their own. Have you ever been accused of something so alien to your character it felt surreal? A pathologically unfaithful partner accuses you of having a wandering eye. A deeply insecure colleague insists that you are the one trying to sabotage them. This is projection. First detailed by psychoanalysts like Sigmund Freud. Projection was later expanded by Carl Jung through his concept of the shadow self. The shadow contains all the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. Our greed, anger, envy, fear, insecurities, rather than facing their own disowned darkness. A manipulator unconsciously projects it onto someone else. It is a psychological defense mechanism, one that allows them to cast you as the villain so they can preserve their own self-image as the hero. You become lost in a disorienting battle, defending yourself against accusations that were never about you in the first place. The accusation is not an observation. It is a confession in disguise. You are not fighting a person, you are fighting their shadow, and it is wearing your face. But what if casting you as the villain isn't enough? What if they need to turn others against you too? Section 4. Triangulation. Why fight a one-on-one battle when you can orchestrate a two-against-one war? Instead of addressing an issue directly with you, your partner complains to a friend or a family member, framing themselves as the victim and you as the aggressor. At work, a manager quietly seeds paranoia between two colleagues, making them compete for approval while positioning themselves as the only person who truly knows what's going on. This is triangulation. This concept was formally identified by psychiatrist Murray Bowen in his family systems theory. Bowen observed that a two-person emotional system is inherently unstable. Under stress, it naturally seeks stability by pulling in a third person, creating a triangle. Manipulators exploit his tendency deliberately. The goal is never resolution. It's to fracture reality itself by creating a two-against-one dynamic. The manipulator weaponizes what psychologist Robert Cialdini calls social proof. Human beings are wired to trust the consensus. When another person appears to validate the manipulator's version of reality, you begin to doubt your own. This tactic plays directly on our primal fear of social exclusion. By isolating you, the manipulator becomes the gatekeeper of the narrative and appoints themselves the arbiter of truth. You are no longer in a disagreement. You are on trial. And once you are made to feel truly alone, the deepest work of destruction can begin. Section 5. Identity erosion. The most effective way to control a person is to make them forget who they are. It rarely starts with a direct attack. It's a small joke about your intelligence, a subtle critique of your passions, a suggestion that your feelings are irrational or dramatic. Slowly, methodically, these comments colonize your mind. This is identity erosion, often known as gaslighting. The term itself comes from the 1944 film Gaslight, in which a husband manipulates his wife into believing she is going insane. This process induces what psychologist Leon Festinger called cognitive dissonance. Human beings have a powerful need for their beliefs and their reality to remain consistent. When a trusted person repeatedly insists that your perception is wrong, it creates a state of intense mental discomfort. To resolve this dissonance, your brain faces a choice. Either decide the manipulator is lying, or accept that your own mind is faulty. Over time, many people unconsciously choose the latter. You begin to edit yourself, to shrink, to second-guess your own intuition, just to regain a sense of psychological stability. Historical studies of brainwashing in prisoners of war show this is the foundation. Before a new identity can be built, the old one must first be dismantled. The goal isn't simply to change your behavior. It's to convince you that your true self was the problem all along. But what if the manipulation is less about destroying you completely and more about keeping you in a state of suspended animation? Section 6. Breadcrumbing. They don't want to be with you. They just don't want you to be without them. Just as you've started to heal, to move on, your phone lights up. It's them. Not a real conversation, a genuine apology, or a plan. Just a low effort. Hey, a like on a week-old photo, a meaningless reply to your story. This is breadcrumbing. This tactic exploits a powerful psychological phenomenon, the Zeigarnik effect. First observed by Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, this principle states that our brains remember incomplete or interrupted experiences far more intensely than completed ones. A random text out of nowhere doesn't provide closure, it reopens the loop. Each tiny digital crumb delivers a small, unpredictable hit of dopamine, reactivating the neural pathways of hope, keeping you emotionally tethered without requiring any real effort or commitment from them. To the manipulator, you are not a person. You are a psychological resource kept on standby. The question, what if, is far more powerful than the reality of their indifference. It's not about keeping you. It's about making sure you never become strong enough to truly leave. But what happens when they finally demand your complete attention, only to reveal there was never a choice to begin with? Section 7. The forced choice. The ultimate form of control is to make someone thank you for taking away their freedom. A boss says, "Would you rather lead the weekend project or handle the Monday morning crisis?" A partner corners you. "Are we going to resolve this right now like adults, or are you going to walk away and prove you don't care about this relationship?" This is the forced choice. This tactic is a masterclass in what Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman called framing. The manipulator presents two options, both leading to the outcome they already wanted, while quietly erasing the real option to simply say, no. Because our brains are wired to prefer making a choice rather than having one forced upon us, we feel a sense of agency. By selecting one of the presented options, we believe we are in control. In reality, we are simply choosing the design of our own cage. This technique works by narrowing the frame of reality. It reframes their agenda as inevitable, reducing your world to one trivial decision. Not whether you will comply, but how you will comply. You are given the illusion of autonomy, while your freedom is quietly being removed. Conclusion. Intermittent reinforcement, future faking, projection, triangulation, identity erosion, breadcrumbing, the forced choice. These are not just concepts. They are documented patterns on the universal code of human influence. This knowledge is a tool, not a weapon. Its purpose is to peel back the layers of social interaction and reveal the machinery underneath. Because manipulation rarely arrives as a monster that roars, it arrives as a whisper, one that sounds like reason. It is the concern that isolates the opportunity that enslaves and the love that poisons. Ultimately, the most profound deception is not the one you recognize and fight. It's the one that arrives so quietly, so intelligently, that it still feels like your own decision. The idea you defend, the sacrifice you willingly make, the chain you choose to wear, believing it was always your choice. That is why understanding these patterns matters, not to live in fear of people, but to fiercely protect your ability to think for yourself, to draw a line in the quiet of your own mind, between influence and control, between a suggestion and a sentence, to guard the sacred space where your freedom is born. Which of these 7 patterns have you witnessed in your own life? Share your story on the comments, because your experience may become the clarity someone else has been searching for. And if this video has given you a new, unsettling clarity, subscribe and activate the bell. We're only beginning to map the darker territories of the human mind. And trust me, you won't want to explore them alone.